You've just finished a 16-hour fast. You feel great, clear-headed, energized, maybe even a little proud of yourself. But tonight there's a dinner party, and you're thinking about having a glass of wine. The question pops into your head: will one drink destroy everything I worked for today? This is one of the most common questions people ask when they practice intermittent fasting. And the answer isn't simply yes or no. What actually happens when alcohol meets fasting is far more interesting than most people realize. Today, we're going to break down exactly what occurs inside your body when you drink alcohol while practicing intermittent fasting. Not just whether it's good or bad, but why it affects you the way it does when it matters most, and how you can make informed decisions that work for your life. Before we dive in, this is educational content, not medical advice. If you have any health conditions or concerns, talk to your healthcare provider. Now let's start with the basics. When you drink alcohol, something important happens in your liver. Your liver is responsible for many things, including burning fat for energy. But when alcohol enters your bloodstream, your liver receives an urgent signal. It must stop everything else and focus entirely on processing the alcohol first. Why? Because your body treats alcohol as a toxin. Unlike food, which can be stored as fat or glycogen for later use, alcohol cannot be stored anywhere in your body. It has to be eliminated immediately. This isn't optional. This is a survival mechanism built into your biology. Here's what makes this significant for fasting. During intermittent fasting, one of the main benefits is that your liver switches into fat-burning mode. When there's no food coming in, your liver starts breaking down stored fat to create energy. This is exactly what many people want from fasting. But the moment alcohol arrives, fat burning stops, not slows down, stops completely. Your liver cannot multitask in this situation. It will process alcohol first, and only after the alcohol is completely cleared will it return to burning fat. How long does this take? Your liver can process approximately one standard drink per hour. One glass of wine, one beer, one shot of liquor. That's the speed limit, and nothing you do can make it faster. So if you have 3 drinks, your liver will be occupied with alcohol processing for at least 3 hours. During those 3 hours, fat burning is essentially on pause. Now let's go deeper into what happens during alcohol processing. When your liver breaks down alcohol, it doesn't go directly from alcohol to harmless substances. There's a middle step. Alcohol first gets converted into something called acetaldehyde. This substance is actually more toxic than the alcohol itself. It's largely responsible for the unpleasant feelings of being drunk and the hangover the next day. Your liver then has to break down acetaldehyde into a harmless substance called acetate, which eventually becomes carbon dioxide and water that your body can eliminate. This entire process requires a lot of resources from your liver, including a molecule called NAD+, which is also essential for burning fat. So during alcohol processing, your liver is using up the very resources it would normally use for fat metabolism. This is why alcohol doesn't just pause fat burning. It actively competes for the same biological machinery. There's also another factor to consider. When you drink on an empty stomach, which is what happens if you drink during a fast or immediately after breaking one, alcohol gets absorbed into your bloodstream much faster. Without food to slow down absorption, the alcohol hits your liver harder and faster. This is why people often feel the effects of alcohol more intensely when they haven't eaten. Your liver gets overwhelmed with a sudden surge of toxin instead of a gradual flow. This brings us to one of the most important benefits of fasting, that alcohol can disrupt autophagy. Autophagy is a process where your cells clean up damaged or dysfunctional parts and recycle them into useful materials. Think of it as your body's internal maintenance system. Old broken cellular components get identified, broken down, and their parts get reused to build new healthy structures. This process has been linked to numerous health benefits: reduced inflammation, slower aging, lower risk of certain diseases. One of the significant benefits of intermittent fasting is that it activates autophagy. When you're not eating, your cells ramp up this cleaning process. But here's the problem. Research has shown that alcohol, specifically the toxic acetaldehyde produced during alcohol metabolism, inhibits autophagy in the liver. Studies have found that autophagy at the liver level can slow down significantly or even stop after alcohol consumption. So if you're fasting partly for the cellular repair benefits, alcohol temporarily puts that process on hold. Your cells have to wait until the liver finishes dealing with the alcohol before they can resume their cleaning operations. Now let's talk about something that affects not just today's fast, but your fasting results over time. There's a protein in your body called PPAR alpha. You don't need to remember the name, but you should understand what it does. PPAR alpha controls the genes responsible for fat burning. When PPAR alpha is active, it signals your body to get better at using fat as fuel. This is part of what researchers call metabolic flexibility, your body's ability to switch smoothly between burning sugar and burning fat. One of the long-term benefits of regular intermittent fasting is that it trains your PPAR alpha to be more active. Over time, your body becomes more efficient at burning fat. This is the metabolic adaptation that many people are looking for. Alcohol interferes with this process directly. Acetaldehyde prevents PPAR alpha from binding to DNA and doing its job. When PPAR alpha can't function properly, the genes for fat burning don't get activated. And here's the important part. This effect doesn't end when you sober up. Research suggests that PPAR alpha function can remain impaired for 24 to 48 hours after drinking. This means that even after the alcohol is completely out of your system, your body's fat-burning machinery may still not be operating at full capacity. This is why drinking frequently while practicing intermittent fasting can reduce your long-term results. Your body never gets enough uninterrupted time to fully develop that metabolic flexibility. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Our ancestors encountered alcohol, occasionally perhaps, from naturally fermented fruits, but not regularly. Their livers evolved to handle occasional toxic exposures, not chronic daily interference. Modern drinking patterns, especially combined with daily fasting, ask our biology to handle something it wasn't designed for. We're using ancient biological machinery in a modern context, and understanding this helps explain why the effects can be so significant. Here's a fascinating piece of science that puts this in perspective. In 2014, researchers at the Foundation for Applied Molecular Evolution made a remarkable discovery. They studied a gene called ADH4, which produces one of the first enzymes that processes alcohol when you drink. By analyzing this gene across 19 different primate species and reconstructing what it looked like millions of years ago, they found something surprising. About 10 million years ago, a single mutation occurred in our ancestors' ADH4 gene. This tiny change made the enzyme 40 times more efficient at breaking down ethanol. Before this mutation, our ancient ancestors could barely process alcohol at all. Why did this mutation happen? Around that same time, our ape ancestors were transitioning from living in trees to spending more time on the ground. Fruit on the forest floor ferments faster than fruit on branches. Those ancestors who could eat this fermenting fruit without getting dangerously intoxicated, had access to more food sources. They survived. They passed on their genes. But here's the crucial detail. This adaptation was designed for occasional exposure to low concentration alcohol, maybe 1 to 2% in naturally fermented fruit. Modern alcoholic beverages contain 3%, 5%, 12%, or even 40% alcohol. We're asking a 10 million year old biological system to handle concentrations it never evolved to process regularly. This explains why combining alcohol with fasting creates such significant metabolic disruption. There's another effect of alcohol that works directly against fasting benefits, and it happens in your gut. Your intestines have a protective lining that acts as a barrier. This lining allows nutrients to pass through into your bloodstream while keeping harmful substances like bacteria and toxins inside the digestive tract where they belong. Alcohol weakens this barrier. It increases what scientists call intestinal permeability, sometimes referred to as leaky gut. When this barrier becomes more permeable, substances that should stay in your gut can leak into your bloodstream. One of these substances is called LPS, or lipopolysaccharide. These are fragments from the cell walls of certain gut bacteria. When LPS enters your bloodstream, your immune system recognizes them as foreign invaders and mounts an inflammatory response. Why does this matter for fasting? One of the well-documented benefits of intermittent fasting is reduced inflammation throughout the body. Fasting decreases inflammatory markers. Alcohol does the opposite. It increases inflammation partly through this gut permeability mechanism. And this inflammatory effect can persist for 48 hours or longer after drinking, depending on how much you consumed. So alcohol and fasting are essentially pulling your body in opposite directions when it comes to inflammation. Now let's address something practical. Not all alcoholic drinks affect your body the same way. Your body doesn't respond to the name of a drink. It responds to what's actually in it. How much ethanol, how much sugar, and the total burden it places on your liver. Distilled spirits like vodka, whiskey, gin, and rum contain no sugar and no carbohydrates. They still have calories, about 7 calories per gram of alcohol, but your liver only has to deal with the ethanol itself. Wine contains some residual sugar, more in sweet wines, less in dry wines. A glass of wine has roughly 120 to 130 calories. Beer has significantly more carbohydrates because it's made from grains. This means your body has to process both the alcohol and the carbs, which can cause a larger insulin response. Mixed drinks and cocktails are often the most challenging for your body because they combine alcohol with sugar, sometimes fruit juice, sometimes soda. This creates a compound burden on your liver. What about drinks with very small amounts of alcohol, like kombucha or cooking wine? Kombucha typically contains less than 0.5% alcohol, similar to non-alcoholic beer. The alcohol itself is negligible. However, kombucha also contains sugar from the fermentation process, usually 15 to 20 calories per 100 milliliters. This sugar can trigger an insulin response and technically break a fast, even though the alcohol content is minimal. Cooking wine is an interesting case. When you cook with wine, most of the alcohol evaporates due to heat. What remains is primarily flavor compounds, not significant amounts of ethanol. The key principle to remember is this: your body responds to the total load, ethanol content plus sugar content plus whatever else your liver needs to process. So when is the best time to drink if you still want the benefits of fasting? This is where understanding the biology helps you make better decisions. After you finish a fast, your body doesn't immediately switch out of fasting mode. The metabolic processes activated by fasting, including PPA, are alpha activity and autophagy, continue for some time, even after you start eating. Your body is essentially in a transition period, still running some of the beneficial programs that fasting turned on. If you drink alcohol too soon after breaking your fast, you interrupt this transition. The alcohol forces your liver to drop everything and deal with the toxin, cutting short the extended benefits you could have received. The research and practical experience suggest that the ideal spacing is 36 to 48 hours between the end of a longer fast and alcohol consumption. This number isn't arbitrary. It's approximately how long it takes for your fat-burning systems to fully restore, for gut-related inflammation to settle, and for your liver to return to normal operations. For practical purposes, if you practice daily intermittent fasting like 16-8 and you want to have a drink, the best approach is to do so toward the end of your eating window, after you've already eaten a meal containing protein and fat. Even better, if possible, save drinking for days when you're not fasting at all. Fast during the week, and if you want to enjoy drinks socially, do it on weekend days when you're eating normally. This approach allows you to get the full benefits of fasting during the week, while still enjoying social occasions without constantly worrying about interference. Another practical consideration, if you do drink, pairing it with protein-rich foods can help reduce some of the negative effects. So if you're at a social event, snacking on foods like lean meats, cheese, or nuts is better than drinking on an empty stomach or with carbohydrate-heavy foods. Now let's address a common misconception that can actually be dangerous. Some people notice that alcohol seems to suppress their appetite. They feel less hungry after drinking. This observation is accurate. Alcohol does reduce levels of ghrelin, which is often called the hunger hormone. But this does not mean alcohol helps with fasting. Here's why. Feeling less hungry is a neurological effect. It happens because alcohol affects your brain chemistry. But while you're feeling less hungry, your liver is completely occupied with processing a toxin. Fat burning has stopped. Autophagy has paused. Your metabolism is not in a fasting state. It's in a detoxification state. These are two very different conditions, even though both might involve not feeling hungry. Some people also report that fasting feels easier the day after drinking. This might be because your body is still processing the alcohol-suppressing hunger signals. But metabolically, this is not a healthy fasting state. Your liver is overloaded, not efficiently burning fat. The key distinction is this: feeling comfortable is not the same as being in a beneficial metabolic state. Your subjective experience and your cellular reality can be very different things. Before we move on, let's talk about special occasions. A glass of wine at a wedding, a toast at New Year's Eve, a sip of wine for a religious ceremony. Will these rare occasions destroy all your fasting progress? The short answer is no. Your body is remarkably resilient. A single infrequent drinking occasion will temporarily interrupt some fasting benefits, but it will not erase everything you've built through consistent practice. The important distinction is between rare occasions and repeated patterns. A drink once every few months gives your body plenty of time to recover and maintain its metabolic adaptations. Drinking several times per week means your body never gets enough uninterrupted time to fully develop those adaptations. Fasting is not a competition for perfection. It's a long-term tool. The goal is consistency over time, not flawlessness in every single instance. One important safety note: certain people should be especially careful or avoid combining alcohol and fasting entirely. This includes pregnant or breastfeeding women, anyone with a history of alcohol, use disorder or eating disorders, people with liver disease, and anyone taking medications that need to be consumed with food. If you experience severe dizziness, Irregular heartbeat or confusion after combining fasting and alcohol, stop fasting. Eat something hydrate and consult a healthcare provider if symptoms don't improve. Let's bring everything together. When alcohol enters your body during or after a fast, three main things happen. First, your liver stops burning fat and focuses entirely on eliminating the alcohol. Second, beneficial processes like autophagy are temporarily paused. Third, the effects on your metabolism can last 24 to 48 hours, not just while you feel drunk. Not all drinks are equal. Your body responds to the total burden of ethanol, plus sugar, plus everything else, not to the name of the beverage. Distilled spirits without mixers create less metabolic disruption than sweet cocktails or beer. Timing matters. The closer you drink to your fasting window, the more you interrupt the beneficial processes. Spacing alcohol consumption 36 to 48 hours from longer fasts allows your body to fully complete its metabolic programs. Rare occasions are not catastrophic. Your body can recover from infrequent drinking. What matters is your overall pattern, not isolated events. Intermittent fasting is not about perfection. It's about understanding how your body works and making informed choices. Now you know exactly what happens when alcohol meets fasting. You can decide what balance works for your life. Here's a question for you. What surprised you most in this video? Was it that fat burning stops completely, or that the effects can last 48 hours after drinking? Leave a comment with either the word stop or the number 48. And if you know someone who practices intermittent fasting, but also enjoys the occasional drink, share this video with them. If you want to keep learning about how your body really works, make sure to subscribe. Your body is smarter than you think. Now you know how to work with it, not against it.